back in Jakarta. It's always a pleasure to welcome you here. Luxembourg and Indonesia share a long-standing friendship. Luxembourg is one of the first European countries that recognized Indonesia independence. Personally, as I mentioned during the meeting, that Minister Asselborn is not only a good colleague for me, but also a long-time friend. And this morning, before this meeting, we had a morning walk at Gelora Bung Karno Stadium, and we started to discuss briefly the global situation. And during the bilateral meeting, we discussed, of course, the bilateral relation, as well as some regional and global issues. On the bilateral relation, first, we discussed about the economic cooperation. I welcome the significant growth of Luxembourg investment to Indonesia, an increase of 732% in the first quarter of 2023 compared to previous year. Trade is also increasing of 15% over the past 5 years. We explore further possibilities of cooperating with Luxembourg in building ICT infrastructure and the exchange of expertise and sharing best practices in the field of Sharia finance. We share also the same views on the importance of finalizing the negotiation of Indonesia-EU Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement as soon as possible. Efforts and building trust are needed for Indonesia and EU to reach the finish line of negotiation. I also mentioned Indonesia's concern on the new policy of the EU, that is the EU deforestation regulation, as I also mentioned during my meeting with the Slovenian foreign minister yesterday. So a joint mission of Indonesia and Malaysia will travel to Brazil this end of May to discuss about this situation. Second, on transport and logistic cooperation, this afternoon, Minister Asselborn and Minister Budi Karya Sumadi will sign the air service agreement. This agreement will promote connectivity, facilitate business opportunity, especially in the cargo sector. Cargolux has been increasing its flight to Indonesia, becomes 2 flights a week. I encourage Luxembourg to utilize Batam as a hub for cargo flights in the ASEAN region. Third, on health cooperation, investment cooperation on health becomes more important than before. I welcome Luxembourg investment to build a medical refrigerator production facility in Karawang, which has operated since October last year. We hope that this technology will contribute in improving healthcare facilities, strengthen vaccine production capabilities, and establish Indonesia as part of the global medical supply chain. Today, Minister Asselborn will visit Darmais Cancer Hospital to witness the showcasing of a cutting-edge technology by a Luxembourg company, B Medical System. On regional issue, I greatly appreciate the support of the EU, particularly Luxembourg, to ASEAN, including the centrality of ASEAN and on the implementation of 5-point consensus to address Myanmar issue. On the Indo-Pacific, I would like to reiterate what I said during the Stockholm meeting 11 days ago. I met Minister Asselborn in Stockholm 11 days ago, that all countries should put priorities and contribute to make Indo-Pacific a region of peace and prosperity. ASEAN, through ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, believes that inclusive and concrete cooperation will contribute to attain peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. So that's all from me. Now I would like to invite Minister Asselborn to deliver your views. John, please.
Merci. I have to push through?
No.
No. Thank you very much, dear Retno. I am very, very glad to be here again. The last time I was here was in 2017. Needless to say that the world has changed dramatically since then, but I am here also as a friend of Minister Marsudi of Retno. And, you know, in foreign policy, friendship is a very, very important element. So after 2017, we had to face the pandemic. We have now a war on the European continent. We have coup d'etat in Myanmar, the impacts of climate change and overarching geopolitical competition, the consequences of which are being felt in all fields, and I think also on all continents. There are essentially the issues we talked about. They remind us how important it is that we, as democracies and staunch defenders of peace, of free trade and rules-based multilateralism, that we stick together. Luxembourg is a country of such a different size than yours, yet one of the most open economies in the world. We try to play an important role when it comes to financial services and investments, especially, as I said to Retno, the green and sustainable finance, logistics and transport, space and digital connectivity, or academic cooperation. In 2022, Luxembourg was the 7th largest investor in Indonesia, and we can and we should do more. That was our conclusion this morning. For instance, did you know that Luxembourg Stock Exchange listed the first green bond already in 2007? They have been a true pioneer in bringing the power of finances to the fight against climate change. I mentioned to Minister Retno that Luxembourg would be an ideal location for the listing of green and sovereign bonds issued by Indonesia. My country is also home to a thriving space ecosystem with over 80 public, private and academic actors, some of which are already active here in Indonesia. Another of our flagships, and Retno mentioned it, is Beam Medical Systems, the global market leader in cold chain solutions, has been working in Indonesia for many years, supporting national immunization campaigns, including COVID vaccination above all, the Indonesian Red Cross, etc. And I look forward to visit, as Retno mentioned, the Darmais Cancer Hospital tomorrow. As a member of the European Union, Luxembourg remains strongly committed to conclude negotiations for an ambitious comprehensive economic partnership agreement, CEPA, with Indonesia. There are still 2 or 3 very important points to find where we should find a solution, but we are on the good way. I am pleased also to announce you that I will be able to sign in a few minutes, or in a few hours, between Luxembourg and Indonesia, together with the Indonesian Minister of Transportation, Mr. Sumadi, an agreement establishing a robust legal framework for our national trade carrier, Cargolux. We are already present here as Cargolux twice a week, and we want even to increase this presence. On academic cooperation, that's also very important for young people. There is a possibility that scholarships are implemented and in Luxembourg, on the University of Luxembourg, and we wish that a lot of students will be able to come to Luxembourg. Tomorrow I will hold a lecture at the University of Indonesia, and it is to show the importance of diplomacy, and I am very, very interested in seeing this exchange with students. So Indonesia plays a remarkable role in 2022 when it came to this G20 meeting in Bali. Very, very important meeting, and I think that Retno, with all her engagement and diplomatic power, tried to find a solution, and Indonesia has done very well. Let me just, to finish, say one word on this war that I mentioned. This war, Russian war in Ukraine, we have to underline always two very important points. First, this is not a war limited on the West or on the western side of the world. It is a war that is directed against values that we share in Indonesia and in the European Union. It is an aggression of Russia against Ukraine, but it is also an aggression against sovereignty, against the respect of the borders, and yes, and also the freedom of the neighborhood country. If this would be an example that could be repeated in other places of the world, I think that all the international law, fundamentals of international law, will crash, and this we have to avoid. So I congratulate Minister Retno on Indonesia's economic and geopolitical weight, and the space is too rightly claims within ASEAN. The region undoubtedly has a lot to gain from Indonesia's leadership, and we talked about Indonesia's culture of peace, respect for diversity, and also for tolerance, and above all, as you mentioned, Retno, the young generation, be it in European Union, be it here in Indonesia, we have to try to find ways that they can live also with their children and with in the next 50 years in peace and also in freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Terima kasih, teman-teman.